everyone. Over the last few videos, we have learned if else, if later, and the ternary operator, all powerful ways to make decisions in our programs. Today, we are learning one more way to handle decisions, which is the switch statement in Java. Switch is especially useful when you have one variable that you need to compare against several specific values, and it can often make your code cleaner and easier to read than a long if-else, if-later. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how switch works, why break is so important, and why you should almost always include a default case. Let's get started. A switch statement is a multi-way branch statement which it allows a variable to be tested for equality against a list of values. So, a switch statement is a multi-way branch statement. It allows a variable to be tested for equality against a list of values. Each possible value is called a case, and the variable being tested is checked against each case one by one, looking for a match. Think of it like a vending machine. You press a button, let's say button 3. The machine checks, is this button 1? No. Is this button 2? No. Is this button 3? Yeah! And dispenses the machine item. So that is exactly how switch works. It checks your variable against each case until it finds a match. You might be wondering, we already know if else, if later, so why do we need switch too? Switch is most useful when you have multiple test cases for one specific variable. For example, imagine a user enters the month they were born and you want to display the season. You could use if else, if later, and it would work perfectly fine. But when you are checking one variable against many fixed values, switch often makes your code cleaner and more readable. Think of switch as a specialized tool. It is not always better than if else if, but in the right situation, it makes your code much easier to follow. Let's look at the syntax. So first we write the word switch, parentheses. Inside the parentheses, we write the name of the variable that we have, and then we have the curly brace. Let me use this commenting way. So after the first curly brace, we write the case and the value 1, and then we write the code which should be executed, and then we write the word break, code, and then we write the word break and semicolon. And in the same way, again we write case value 2, colon, the code which should be executed, the keyword break and semicolon, and so on. And then at the end of it, we can write the word default, colon, and the code which should be executed, and the curly brace which should be matching with this one which is open, and then we close it. So as I said, inside the parentheses, the variable, we are writing the variable which we are testing. Case value 1 is when the variable match value 1. This code will be run, and then break. The break here stops execution and exits the switch, and the default keyword here runs if no case match. Let's see a real example. So, for example, we have a variable named day with the value 3 and semicolon. We write the word switch, parentheses, and then we have the curly braces open and close. Inside the parentheses, as I mentioned earlier, inside the parentheses, we write the name of the variable. What is the name of the variable? It's day. So we write day, and then we write the word case. For example, I write case 2. If the value of day is 2, so please run or print the word Tuesday. And then the keyword break and semicolon as the syntax that we have here, and then again I enter, and then I write case value 2. Like for the value 2, I say if the value of the variable is 3, colon, please print Wednesday. And then the keyword break and semicolon. You can go on and write case 4, case 5, case 6, and so on, but I want to make it short, and then at the end, according to our syntax, I write the keyword default and colon, and then I write the code which I want to be executed. I want the sentence or the statement invalid day be printed. Now let me run the program. Okay, the output is Wednesday because day is 3. Day is 3, which match with case 3, right? Now here is something extremely important and one of the most common mistakes people make with switch. What happens if we forget to add break actually? Let's look at another example. It can be a good practice to write a new example. So I create another variable named x equal to 5 and semicolon. According to our syntax, I write switch, keyword, parentheses, and then open curly braces and close the curly brace. So inside the parentheses, I write the name of the variable, which is x, and then I write for my cases. So case 1 is if the value is 5, I want the code be executed. That's right, which should be printed 5. For the case 4, I want the program print for me that this number is 4. And for the default part, I want it be printed default. And done. So as you see, I have not written the keyword break after each the code that I have written for each case. Let me just run the program. Okay, you might expect it to see like only 5, but the actual output is 5 for default. This is called fall through. With a break, once Java finds a matching case, it does not stop there. It keeps executing every single line below it. Look, 5, 4, and default, regardless of whether those case labels match or not, until it either hit a break statement or reach to the end of the switch block, which is the default. In our example, Java matched case 5, printed 5, but since there was no break, look, there is no break keyword, it just kept going, executing case 4 and the default code 2, even the x was never 4, right? We have only 5. Let's fix it by adding break statement. Break and semicolon. Please don't forget to add the semicolon. Now let me run the program. Now we can see that the output is only 5. Once the matching case executes and hits break here, Java exits the switch immediately. So now let's talk about the default case here. The default section handles any value that does not match any of the cases you have written. It is very similar to the else block in an if-else statement. It is your safety net for unexpected values. Let's see what happens with the default case. Again, I write a new example just for practicing. I create a new variable with the data type integer, name y, and the value is 9 and semicolon. I write the keyword switch, parentheses, open curly brace and close curly brace. Inside the parentheses, I write the name of the variable that we have. Then I write the cases. For example, I write 2 case. I say if the first value is 8, colon, please print 8. You can write anything that you wish. I just make it short. And then I write brick as we discussed earlier. And then I write case 7. And then I want the word 7 be printed. And then the Java hits brick statement. So as you can see, there is not a default statement or keyword. I just run the program. Let's see the output and what happens here. Okay, you saw that I ran the program, right? But there is no case for 9 and no default case either. So the result, absolutely nothing happened. No output, no error. Java simply skips the entire switch block silently. That's interesting. Actually, this can be dangerous in real programs, because if something unexpected happens and there is no default to catch it, your program might silently do nothing and you might not even realize there is a problem. This is actually why it is always good practice to include a default case, even if you think every possible value is already covered. It acts as a safety net for anything unexpected. So let me just write a default keyword. If there is something which is out of these 2 cases, please print invalid value, for example. Now let's run the program. And you can see it has been printed invalid value because the value of y is 9, neither 8 nor 7. And that is the switch statement in Java. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a lesson. See you in the next one.